And boom, we are live. Good evening again, everybody. It is a beautiful Saturday night for learning again. And tonight I am blessed and gifted to introduce you a special guest again. His name is Mr. Alan Sampan. Mr. Alan Sampan, please introduce yourself. Let us know a bit about yourself, your work, and yeah, from there, man, go for it.
Yeah, my name is Alan, and that's quite a difficult thing to do, Matt, to tell the listeners what I'm doing because I'm doing a lot of things right now, and I've did a lot of things. And but right now, I'm currently a creative strategist. So I help businesses with their creative campaigns and how to simplify their content creation process so they can solve bigger problems. So pretty much that's the
Mm.
summary of what I'm doing now.
Awesome. So, where do you think these bigger problems lie on? Like, what do you think? Can you give us an image in the mind through words? What are these bigger problems, if you can?
Yeah, bigger problems are in a business perspective.
Hmm.
They're the
Yes.
unassigned tasks that somehow um, because if you start a business, normally you do it yourself first. That's how it goes. If you're an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, you started with this jack of all trades mentality, and then somewhere along the way, when you start to grow, your hands are getting full, and you really don't know, where to focus.
Hmm.
So there, most of the time, these successful entrepreneurs they cannot reach their full potential because their mind is everywhere. They're trying to do all the things by themselves, and
Hmm.
that's where I come in. A large chunk of the business process is marketing
Hmm.
and strategizing marketing is what we specialize at, and that's the help that we give to them. So the bigger problem, it depends on the company. If the CEO is more focused on the operations, if that's the money making machine in their company, then
Hmm.
he can focus more on that bigger problem, and then let us take care of other problems. So pretty much that's just the logic of my job.
Awesome. So yeah, you mentioned there earlier that once you get your hands full now, and it's
Mhm.
hard to make decisions what to focus on. So I want to ask you, how do you decide where to focus on the most? What incorporates the next decision? What are you filled with meaning maybe or direction? How do you decide what to do next? You please.
Yeah. Um, before I can't really directly answer that question, but if you don't mind, I'll just give you like a background on why
Please,
I
sure.
think this is the right answer to your
Go for it. I love
question.
it already.
Because I've been an entrepreneur myself, handled several projects already. The main reason why people tend not to delegate tasks is because they've experienced successes in
Hmm.
handling multiple activities in their business.
Hmm.
So it becomes innate to them that they can do it, and somehow they're afraid to delegate these tasks to other people because those people might fail.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
it's a battle between, shall I free up my time so I can do a lot of things, or shall I take the
Mhm.
risk in giving this task to other people and they might fail, I might screw up. So that kind of thinking. So
Yeah.
takes time before you graduate in that kind of thinking, because that's
Mhm.
one of the limiting beliefs, like you have to do everything. um
Mhm.
because if I'm not
Yes.
sure, but in school, that's how somehow that's the culture that was given to us as kids, like you do everything yourself.
Mhm.
I remember when you were given a group for a certain project and you are so highly competitive, you don't really delegate those tasks to other people, you just do it yourself because you are so concerned about the grades that you will get after that project, you know and you're so afraid
Mhm.
to delegate it to other people. And somehow probably that kind of culture scaled up until the time that we came to this kind of age, and it's difficult to give other people responsibilities because you're afraid that they
Mhm.
might screw things up. So that's the premise
Mm-hmm.
of the idea. Um, Going back to your question, how do you find out what the bigger problem is, or what was that again?
Yes, that's
Okay.
one of my questions. Yes.
So at time in business, you really have to look at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So well, one thing I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not, if you're allergic to numbers, because some people are telling me they're allergic to math, they don't want to see numbers, but it's actually, it will actually make your life easier. I mean, it's a visual representation
Mm-hmm.
on what's happening in the company. I mean, if the numbers are low, then something's not right. If the numbers are high, or if the
Right.
numbers are in the mid part, that means you can do something else to make it high.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
personally, I always
Right.
advise entrepreneurs to check on your numbers. You feel that you are already um, exhausted in doing these things, and you're experiencing success. Good for you. But think about this:
Mm-hmm.
if you delegate, let's say, 80% of your tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and 80% of those tasks will be handled by highly competitive people, and you only focus on the 20% of your job, do you think these numbers will go down, will stay as it is, or will they, will they increase? So
Interesting.
once they get that enlightenment, they just, they just try to collect themselves, and then, okay, pass the job, delegate it.
Yes.
And it takes time before they can, before they can get the hack of it. Like someone else is doing their
Mm-hmm.
job for them now. So it's a funny feeling because I've experienced it myself. But then again, it's part of the process. There's discomfort at first until you get to the results, and the results will convince you that, hey, I did the right
Mm-hmm.
thing. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
But
Of
yeah.
course. Yes, you did. And I love that we're talking about delegation
Mhm.
as you started there, and I parked this question in my mind because I really want to ask this: how do you decide when to delegate to a person? What do you need? What are you looking for in a person before you can transition to them to give them the opportunity that you are so savvy on? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's really a tough one because it took me a long time before I convinced myself to delegate tasks. Because what happened is, if you are doing one thing for several years, you really get good at it. And somehow people
Mm,
no longer beat you. When I say beat, I mean, if you think about it, you are better than most people in doing that task. Um, I
mm-hmm,
told myself that if I can find someone who can do these tasks 70% or 80% better than me, I'm good with that.
mm,
So there's still room for improvement, but then
mm-hmm,
again, I'm good with that. That's the risk that I need to take. Because like life is about taking risk. You're
mm-hmm,
not gonna go somewhere if you don't take risk. And I assessed myself back then. If I can manage
mm-hmm.
20 or 30% failure on that person's part, that means I'm good to go. And those numbers are not that hard to manage. 20% is just 20%. So
Mm-hmm.
as I've said, you'll get used to it on time, in time, and then
Mm-hmm.
somehow you will be able to inspire that person, and they will end up better than you. I mean, that happens a lot. At first,
Yes.
at first they're kind of clueless on what they do, and but with the right leadership, you can make them better than you. And I guess that's the role of
Mm.
mentors. That's the
Yes.
role of mentors,
Very
to
true.
to make people better than you, so they can make other people better than them. So it's a chain reaction.
Yes.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that
awesome.
mm,
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a really great answer into looking in deep into the adequacy of before you transition into giving somebody an opportunity that, well, you enjoy that opportunity, that job you do, and
right.
you want to deliver the same quality of, of progress that's going to be used for in people's lives. That's amazing. My next question is, because I'm really interested in this one. my next question is, where did the bending happen for this interest? What did you notice before in your past jobs, in your past work, that made you notice and made you notice of these things that you really they sound really great, like well understood thoughts. Where
Mhm.
did these come from, if you can remember,
Yeah, that's a
the building
tough
up
one.
process?
That's a tough one
Mm.
because um, I'm not sure. Just like any other kids in my age back then, we just try to do whatever our parents want us to do. What I'm saying is, you
Mhm.
took up a course in college that somehow you like it, but it's not what really you like, you know. And
Mhm.
I
I
guess
get it.
my hardwire is being creative and analytical at the same time. So
Mhm.
I guess the bending happens when I joined the BPO industry because
Mhm.
I'm a licensed medical technologist, by the way. So I just
Mm.
what I'm doing now is completely different, way
It
different
is.
from what I've studied, and I just practiced that profession for less than 2 years. And then I went to I entered BPO, and uh,
Mhm.
I fell in love with the leadership process, the the business process itself, the coaching process where leaders tend to be more personal in coaching their reps. So I fell in love with that process, not with the job, okay? Because if I fell in love with the job, I'm still doing it right now. But with the process of doing things. So that was the start of me asking myself,
I love
what
that.
what if I can do this thing that I love and earn from it, and that means I'm no longer going to work for the rest of my life because
Mm.
I'm doing what I love. I- i'm
Yeah,
i'm I'm
fulfilling.
doing something that motivates me to improve, so to
Wow.
answer your question, that was, yeah, thinking about it, that was the spark, or that was the bending process, and from there, um it took away like a rocket ship. I know I can't I can no longer
Mm.
um I can no longer
Mm.
recall all the things that happened to me. That there are a lot of transitions, by the way. There are a lot of
Mhm.
transitions, and uh yeah. But before we get into that transition, all the things that I've experienced in the BPO industry broke
Mhm.
my visions of things. So there, that's where it started.
Mm. Wow. So those were the agents that made your transition happen. You fell in love with the process of coaching and what it could deliver if it was done right, or
Right,
well, or greatly enough.
right.
And sure enough, that made an impression on you, that it stuck in you, that it led to better communication, maybe because all these things you mentioned, have that, flare of great communication. Ideas were transitioned into, well, actionable steps and energies, and intention wise.
Yeah. I remember during that time when my we call him TL, the team leader. During
Mhm.
we call him
I
team
understand.
leader. When they show us our statistics, our performance based on numbers, that's where I get the idea that, okay, performance is quantifiable. And he tried to explain, not to manipulate those numbers, but to make those numbers reflect what you can really do. And that's the time where I have a very clear understanding that everything is quantifiable, even your performance. It doesn't just quantify the amount of work, but the quality of your work
Mhm.
you do. So I really fell in love with that idea, and I started unconsciously
Mhm.
digging deeper. I had three BPO companies back then, and all of them taught me a lot of things. Probably because at the back of my head, I'm not here to take calls. I'm not here to
Mhm.
get a job and then get my salary and then just go home and sleep. That's not my priority. I'm there to learn. I'm there to
Mhm.
learn leadership. I'm there to learn how to communicate to people. I'm there to learn how to manage numbers, how to quantify, performance using numbers. And I kind of
Mhm.
enjoyed it because my main purpose is learning. At the same time, I'm earning. So probably
Mhm.
that's one of the reason why the transitioning process didn't hurt that much. Probably because
Mhm.
I always tell myself I need to enjoy what I'm doing because I'm learning from it. So there.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, and you know, obviously coming from those aspects, those aspects, and the results you got back in the days when you were a team leader in a BPO, it became evident to you that what you were interested more on was the thing that makes things go up in stocks, that the green arrows go up. um
Right.
but my next question is really interesting to me. What you said you're not there just to take calls, right? So you've seen your results. You did great. What do you think you were doing there? What in regards to the people that you interact with through the calls and the calling process? What do you think you're actually doing there
Okay. Um,
that makes it work so well for you?
I really can't think of any particular um, mindset that I consciously told myself that I need to be doing this, because just like any other employees, I was burned out. Um, but I guess it helps that I enjoy something every day, doing something every day. And if
Mm.
everything else fails, like you've already exhausted trying to look for the good things that's happening around you, that you just try to create something good of it. I remember when I was a call center agent. You talk to a lot of frustrated people, and when I am already let's say expert in the system, I no longer it's no longer
Mm-hmm.
an issue for me to fix their problem. I became interested with the lives of the people that I talk to. Like in a certain in one shift, you can talk to as many as 50 people, and all those people have 50 different personalities, and then you're trying to learn from them. Why is this guy frustrated? Why are they happy? So there was a certain period of time when I was an agent that
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed the conversation, so I can keep the job. I'm not. They're not firing me, by the way, but I am about to leave, and I can't afford to
Yeah.
leave because that's your bread and butter. So I just try to look for some things that gives me learning and satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I found out when I was a call center agent. And the thing about me, I guess why I stay there is when I'm about to exhaust the things that makes me happy or the things that gives learning from me, I always approach my superior and tell them that I'm please don't take this against me, but I guess I've already produced the numbers that you are requiring me. I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a good job because the numbers that you want. I always give them, and I can no longer find myself being satisfied with the work. And you don't want a happy agent. I remember telling my TL this. Um, I guess it's better if I leave for the sake of the team and for my sake, because I'm just going to be a burden, because I know myself. Once
Right.
I've exhausted everything that gives me satisfaction, I might just go to work and slack around, instead of me destroying or messing up my
Yeah.
record or the record of the team. So I might just as well leave. And some of my TLs are very supportive. It's either they allow me to quit the company and join other companies, but they always recommend me for promotion. So my 3 years in the BPO, no, that's not 3 years, 5 years, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
5 years in the BPO industry. um, I went up the corporate ladder 5 times, because for one year I'm in this position, and then when I've exhausted everything that I want to learn from that position, I see to it that I get another higher position so I can improve. So looking
Mm-hmm.
back, it's like me enrolling to college, once again, because I spent 5 years in the BPO industry, and in those 5 years, I've learned a lot of things per
Mm-hmm.
year as a
Mm-hmm.
as
Wow.
in a different position. And yeah, that was exciting. I mean, it taught me a lot. If you ask me, at least 50% of what I know or what I'm applying today are some principles that I've learned in the BPO industry.
Really? Wow.
Right.
Yeah. It's amazing. And I really love that you look you look into yourself and ask questions like maybe I'm not feeling like I'm fired up like this before. I don't think it's gonna be a fun ride tonight, maybe, or and you're not gonna be the best that you recognize you can be. You know your A game. You know where your A game is,
Yeah.
and it's good that you rose to the top, the tops, the heights that they gave you, because I think that's what you were looking for too. You were looking for that itch of like learning something new again, but at the same time it's improving your craft that's already been evident to you that it's working for you as the human being. It's effective for you communication wise, as I look at it. Before we move into these things further, we have a question here. We have somebody who's learning a lot. Yes, thank you so much. Good evening. Yes, good evening. I don't
Yeah.
know who this is because you're not signed into StreamYard maybe, but Facebook user. Question for you, Mr. Alan Sampang. I wonder, how do you optimize the performance of your team? Go ahead, Mr. Alan Sampang.
Okay. Thank you. My team back in BPO industry, or my team now that I'm an entrepreneur. I'm quite confused about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, um, my
Mm-hmm.
answer to that is you can't really optimize the performance if you don't know your team in a personal level. When I say in a
Mm-hmm.
personal level, you don't really need to meddle in the person's life, but at least try to understand what is their motivation in doing things. What's the reason why they're on your team? What's the reason why they're doing this job? And try not to act like a boss,
Mm-hmm.
because it people can really tell if you're acting like a boss, or if you're acting like a leader. Your influence to your team um,
Mm-hmm.
is one of the driving factor why they will perform. So I'm assuming that when you say how do you optimize the performance of the team, that means how do you uh, how do you get them produce the ideal numbers. So that's how I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that treat them like family, because in a business environment,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of a heavy burden if you treat everyone else as your family. But at least make them feel that you're not there to boss them around, but just to support them. Ask them what their goal is. What is your
Mm-hmm.
goal? Why are you here in this company? Why are you working? What goals will make you feel satisfied? And then help them work with that personal goal. That kind of connection speaks a lot. That kind of connection
Wow. Yeah.
will give you great results.
That's amazing, Mr. Alan Sampang. And yeah, I think the person answered back in an entrepreneur sense, and I think that still answers that.
Right,
Keep,
right.
yeah, for sure, 100%.
Because
And
in the entrepreneur sense, people apply for the job because they need the money. I
mostly,
mean, probably that's the only reason why they're there. It's not a personal reason, like they like you so much and then
perhaps.
they're gonna work for you. I mean, that's not happening. If it happens, then probably I don't know anyone that do that. Um, but
Mm-hmm.
allow them. What I do is I allow them opportunities to improve. I remember when I was in retail, I was
Mm-hmm.
managing my own clothing brand. I have this employee. who is not really good in sales,
Mm-hmm.
but he's good in logistics. So I tried to understand his
Mm-hmm.
workflow. I tried to understand his workflow, and based he's already hired as a sales personnel. But then again, I talked to him, and I didn't penalize him for giving out low sales in his post. But I talked to him and asked him, what were your other jobs before this? I mean, I showed him the company process, the production process. Here's what we do. And then I asked him, what do you think is the post that will make you more effective in this one?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm seeing is you're probably not enjoying your job as a sales personnel because you're not, you're not hitting the numbers. So probably if I show him the company process
Mm-hmm. Wow.
and explain to him, the tiny bitty details of the process, he might see himself doing something else. And true enough, he said, I think I can help with production and logistics. I gave him that department and he performed well. He stayed with me for 5 years, and he's one of the
Mm-hmm.
reason why the business flourished. And up until now, it's there in the market. So that helps. I mean, if you really want to optimize the performance of your working team, don't push them to do something that they're not really cut out. If they're not for sales, then remove them from that department. If you think they're better off in doing paperworks, then give them paperworks. Because
Yeah.
what I realize is people apply for the job because the post is available. It's kind of
Mm.
it's sad. It's sad to say, but
Yeah.
sometimes people are just desperate to have a job without really knowing that they can do it. And once they're in there,
Mm-hmm.
that's the only reason that you'll find out. Okay, so he or she is not really good at it. So it's
Yeah.
as a leader, it's my responsibility to check where is she good at, or probably if my resources will allow me, probably I can create another department where she can be effective. But that's a case to case scenario. So there, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I did, and that's still that's the thing that I'm still doing now, and it proves effective for me.
It's amazing that we and you touched on through that question that you cater more to the needs of your people, and the needs look like, um, well, you ask them, maybe you talk to them, you don't necessarily ask a certain question, maybe just a conversation that drifts into the ideal way of
Mhm.
understanding them that you want to find. um, then the senses might tell you that they're looking for understanding. I mean, they're looking for meaning and understanding in a certain area. And if you can
Mhm.
provide that, that increases the satisfaction for happiness in some way. And I think that drives them to perform better in their jobs or responsibilities, that they use these meanings that they got with your help or with the help of whatever whoever in the company. It drives them and guides them. It's a source for them to perform good if they're learning, like yourself, Mr. Alan Sampang. You perform the best. Your A game is found in the best ways when you are learning and having fun in what you do. So I think the learning part needs to be answered first, but I think you need to identify, as I was listening to you, what this need is. It could be an array of things, and being a leader such as yourself, I think you're more than, because you enjoy learning a lot, and I'm pretty sure you enjoy giving a lot to what you've learned. If the need, or if the shoe fits,
Right,
you know.
right.
Mm,
Um, yeah, interesting that you put it that way because I'm about to say the key words are
mm.
enjoyment and fun.
Mm,
I try
yes.
to always put fun um, in the business environment in the team that
Mhm.
I manage, not to the point where they feel very comfortable that they already that they forget their business
Mhm.
responsibilities, but somehow um, fun in a way where it's not very transactional. You know, you should make them feel that they're not doing this just for the sake of you earning the money. You know, it's like um, yeah. I remember here's what I did
Mm-hmm. Wait.
in my retail team. Um, Instead of giving them a cash bonus every year,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the practice, right? Aside from your 13th month pay, you'll get a cash bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I give them a 3 day vacation, and
Mm-hmm.
we go to some place nice, and we stay there and bond with each other. And would, um, I probably need to ask them what probably they need money, or what do they
Mm-hmm.
prefer, money or vacation. And
Mm-hmm.
true enough, they chose vacation all the time,
Mm-hmm.
because they told me, give us money, and then just a few days we spend it to to God knows what material things they're gonna buy. But
That's
vacation
right.
is something that they can really look forward to every year.
Mm.
Yeah, and I kind of miss that team, because we gelled together a lot. And there, so probably one of the reason why one of the things that you can do to optimize their performance is to you know the phrase, you have to know where they bleed. It sounds negative,
Mm.
but
Interesting.
gives me a different outlook. Know where it hurts, or know where it bleeds, because in the opposite, you have to find out what really satisfies them the most. And if you're
Mm.
going to reward them, might as well reward them on on the
Mm.
aspect of where they're going to be satisfied.
Mm. Wow, that's amazing that the ended that answer with that phrase that you got to find where they bleed the most on. I agree with that. I love that phrase. I just heard it here first time for the first time. I love it. I understand it. I think that's the right way of saying it. I don't find it offensive in a gruesome way.
Mm,
Understanding people's understanding of that. I think it's the best way to find what you're really good at and build from there. Well, I think communication is something that you're really good at, and you can find places where you can build with your team on, like once you find that bleeding point,
yeah,
like you said,
right,
and
right.
I think that's where they get excited the most tomorrow working again on for,
Yeah.
I think if they can find that meaning, where you think it is as a leader, this is yourself. And I really appreciate you saying all these things, because it gives us a broader, perspective, a wider perspective, a wider array of understanding of what we should look for in creating an A team such as yourself. Because an A type of, you're an A game guy like yourself. You understand what makes you tick, where your bleeding points are, like where the most satisfaction is coming from in your life. That's why you're doing the most, uh, encouraging things that you find should be done by you. And I think if you can get a person to that level too, then I think you're either getting into a B game type of play style,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
eventually you'll find the A game players such as yourself too. And I think they evolve through you and with you in the process of like trying to figure out what makes them tick and bleed in that way. Because I think bleeding is like they put them exert the most effort on. Maybe it's saying something, doing something right appropriately. They have a standard now for that. I think that's where you build the most, and I think that's an everlasting, repetitive, good thing to do in a company such as yourself, Mr.
Right.
Ansampal. Yeah, I think it's something notably to note that this thing here is good repetitively, because it never
Right.
exhausts. I mean, look at yourself, right? You've been doing these things that are colored by the impression of progress and joy and satisfaction for you, as you explained, and which I really see too. Well, and one more thing I really want to ask you too is like you found yourself in the wonders of understanding certain things and then
Mm,
making actions and steps that catered to a yes in a sale, maybe, or progress in something.
mhm.
What do you I was really thinking about this earlier. Like, what do you love, or you want to talk about, like the process of learning something and applying
Oh, okay.
appropriately
Yeah.
to the degree it makes the right decision
Yeah.
for you.
Um, First off, I just want to take off from what you said, that
Mm.
you create a system that can be repeatedly done,
Mm.
because that's one of the things that you need to learn early on. If you if you find something that is working, try to reverse engineer that process. Like, try to determine the step by step process before you get to the
What
end
happened?
point, and then create a system out of it. Put it into writing, and then
Mm.
try to consciously apply that system in everything that you do. Uh, because
Wow.
that will not only uh, take
Boost.
away the stress or the burden in your shoulder,
Mm.
but it's a proven formula for you. So if it works 2 or 3 times, then pretty much if you're doing the same thing, it will work for the rest of for the rest of the project or
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, that will make it easier
Yeah.
for you. And then I just want to transition in the latter
Mm.
question that you gave me. How do you continue to enjoy learning? Is that what the
Mhm.
question is? How do you continue to enjoy
I
learning?
really want to understand that when you hit that satisfaction point, that all these efforts, as you mentioned before this next question,
Right.
um, let's talk about, what you're really satisfied now that practicing these things bring about, satisfactory results in the company and in progress for the purchase of sales and everything. What can you explain that satisfaction that you get, and where can you deduce the thankfulness you can lay on what you did and what happened?
Okay. So pretty much you want to know where I bleed. No, I'm
Mm.
just kidding. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a tough one. Where am I, or what makes me satisfied? This is one of the reason why I love this kind of conversation, because
Mhm.
it digs deeper in you, and somehow you're doing some things, and then you just need to reanalyze yourself and reflect
Mhm.
what really makes me satisfied. Um, when when I hit 40 last year, I
Mhm.
tried to simplify my goals in life,
Mhm.
and
Mhm. Exciting.
money is one of them. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that one of the goals is, you have to have a very specific financial goal. If you are going to earn from this, how much do
Right.
you want to earn? And I don't find that greedy, because people are quite sensitive. Our culture is quite sensitive in terms of
Right.
speaking how much you want to earn, because if you try to desire more, they label you as something, corrupt or greedy. But the thing is, if you are
Mhm.
desiring more, just make sure that you can handle that, and you can invest it and then help other people. I mean, I'm kind of going, you know
Mhm. I love
in
that.
a lot of directions now, but I hope I
Mm.
stay in your question.
You
um
are
the
definitely.
that's what I try to simplify. I'm
Mm.
giving myself an X amount. Like, if I hit this, that means I'm satisfied. Okay. And then,
Mm.
before I hit
Yes.
this money goal, I need to set um, the numbers on how many people or how many clients do I want to help, because money is just a result of your work. The work itself is helping other people out, solving their
Yes.
problems. So I set the goal of, okay, for this year I want to help 50 businesses, and I try to be specific, 50 medium-sized businesses. this is what I've learned
I love that.
as I mature, because you really have to be very clear on what your goal is, so you can create action steps. You have a direction now. You know where you're going to. So these are just simple changes that I did in my goal setting process that kept me being satisfied or getting satisfied. And
I love that.
every time I hit that goal, I am motivated to do something more. Here's the funny thing. Some people
Mhm.
think that motivation should come before you take action,
Mhm.
but I have proven that otherwise, because the only time that you will get motivated is once you see that you are getting results, positive results from the things that you're doing.
Mhm.
So sometimes it happened to me when I was younger.
Mhm.
Um, I'm getting drunk with a lot of motivational or inspirational quotes from from
Mhm.
successful people, but then again I realized these motivations are not really giving me some productive results. Instead, they're just making me stagnant in a way, because
Mhm.
I learned to prioritize my skills, that I need to learn a skill or two
Mhm.
every month, because if I've learned this skill, that means I will be confident in doing the job. And once I am very skillful in doing the job, I will get positive results, and those positive results will give me motivation. The motivation that I need to keep on pushing through and learning new things. Am I making sense, Matt? I'm sorry
Yes,
if I'm
massively.
going all over the places, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I kind of do it. That's the reason why I'm still
Mhm.
staying in what I'm doing now, because even though the challenges are persistent, even though
Yes.
especially right after the pandemic, all businesses have this issue, and then recession is coming, and everything is challenging. But that's
Mhm.
what keeps me going, because I've
Mhm.
learned from the past that if you spend
Mhm.
enough time in this aspect, you will learn from it, you will be skillful, and once you're
Mhm.
skillful, you will get the good results that you want, and that will keep you motivated all throughout.
I love that.
I hope I made sense.
Oh, massive,
Right.
massively proud and some
Yeah,
fun.
thank you.
And I like it that you dove deep into your own interests, and you understood and explained to us what makes you tick in a sort of a way that, or where can we find you the most place that you're digging in, like if this
Right.
was literally like a place like, where can you find Mr. Alan Sampan the most digging in and understand why he's digging there. And that's a very interesting way of saying it, because you laid it out like you want to understand something in providing something to your customers and clients that lasts, and that it's a repetitive feeling that, or it's a refined feeling that stays in them, that is lasting. It made a lasting impression on you. I think what you're trying to do is just translate that in your ways, in multiple ways, in your businesses, that they find themselves in that space where you found yourself in, that is currently has been lasting for so long now, and it's a never ending fire, as you said. I could really see that. I mean, who would invest in these one or two skills for this long, and
Right.
what drives you there? I mean, you have to be deeply interested in something, and you're explaining so much, as much as you can. I really love it. Like, where can we find, for this human beings his interest in those things, in one or two skills, like, and then that's a massive impression already on people to understand and get a grasp of where they could potentially start digging to. They could start digging in your place right now, like where
Right.
you
Right.
found these
Right.
deep interests in. And I think that's an abundant place for anybody to find meaning and depth in their lives, to do something meaningful in, or incorporate in your work, which is already amazing enough to hear. If you can put that in your work, doesn't have to be a business. It could be a job, or business, or both, like what you do. Business right now, Mr. Ansapang, like, you're trying to translate all these good things that last for a long time in people, because you uh, have seen, it's the impressions it makes last the longest, and it matters the most. You're touching on a lot of subjects here that
Mhm, right.
matters and caters to people, which I really love, and appreciate in people doing. Like I try my best and aim to do something and to find those people and things that they talk about that they found lasting, uh, and that made a lasting impression on them. And I think that's where you find it in books and stuff too, and I think
Right.
we're drawn to that. So thank you so much. That's a fun one, yeah.
Right. Because you mentioned the word lasting impression or lasting satisfaction. I think
Mm.
everyone, all of us,
Mm.
even though we don't verbalize it, our main goal is to keep something good last a little longer. you know,
Mm.
that's one of the
I
goals that
love,
we yeah, that's one of the goals that we have.
love when
Oh,
you say
we are
that.
not consciously doing it, but everything that we
Mm.
do can sum up into one thing. If you're experiencing good in your life right now, you
Mm.
want it to last a little bit longer. um, we have that innate desire, and at the same time, somehow, I've been through this, and I'm not trying to criticize people, but somehow some people, even me before, made life complicated, where we do a lot of stuff and try to forget what really works in our life, what are the systems that worked before,
Mm.
because
Yes.
somehow we've left all those things that worked before, and we're trying to do some things now that are not ought to be done. Sometimes you just need to sit down and reflect, okay, what are the things that worked for me before? What are the things that made me happy before? Probably I should start with
Mm.
those things. What did I do? The reason why I was happy before. What did I do before that? And then try to apply that principle in what you're doing now. And I believe that would be a great start. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the
Mm.
future? But what I'm just saying
Wow.
is, if it worked before one or two times already, then if you do it now, there's a bigger chance that it will work, and you probably might be able to scale it up,
Mm.
and improve yourself.
Yeah. I mean, you always find yourself in these things and settings that you're encouraged to do the next thing or door that opens to you, and you find yourself still carrying that enthusiasm and lust for the vigors that you found useful back in the day. And
Mhm.
I think that's the thing that people want the most in your work. Like, but can you translate that into words? Can you translate it into writing? Can you translate that into a
Right.
speech or a program, a video? Like, help us understand in our way how we can utilize this understanding of the, the deepest interest you can have in solving something. Like,
Yeah.
and it's energy, it's an impression that once you start to get a hang of it, you can deliver it in multiple ways, like what you've done, Mr. Alan Sampang. And it's amazing because it doesn't stay as the first time you found it. It transforms into bigger things enter your mind for the possibilities they can become with your help. Like, but it takes somebody like you, Mr. Alan Sampang, and me. I like to throw myself in the mix, say that once you get the hit of these impressions, like, you got to take action, and
Right.
then the results become a substantial, you accrue them evidence for doing something worthwhile again and again. Like, what's your aim now? Is this the same aim you're going to put into this frame of job or work you're going to do? And I think you're going to do well if you do that aim.
Right. Right. And that kind of those kinds of results are really, you know fuel. If I
Mm,
It's a
makes
metaphor. It's a
sense.
fuel
Makes sense.
to keep on doing what you want. Sometimes people might think that you're just being sentimental, or
Mm,
what you call this.
could be.
You are romanticizing this kind of work that you need to push. You need to be
Maybe.
persistent. It's there's in my part, there's no romanticizing in it.
Mm,
It's hard process. It's a very tough process. But then again,
mhm.
you always need to ask yourself, if this is what it takes to
Mhm.
make the good stuff last a little bit longer, then
Mm.
that's worthy enough doing it. That's
Yeah.
that's reasonable enough, to do your best in this part. And
Reasonable, yeah.
yeah, one thing I've learned is try to not to be very emotional or sentimental in what you're doing, because all the things that we're doing now are very practical. We're getting practical results, and
Mhm.
uh, these praises that you hear from people, especially the words that are coming from you, that I really appreciate it. It helps me a lot.
Thank you so much.
But
I appreciate you.
these are sort of validation that you are on the right place. You are on the right path.
Mhm.
And
True.
if you're gonna change something, then you just change for the better. But
Mm.
yeah, by the way, Matt,
Exactly.
I might not be able to thank you for those good, for those kind words, but thank you.
Thank you
That
so
helps me
much.
out
I
because
appreciate it.
if you're in this kind of um, industry, so to speak,
Mhm.
if you are a CEO, if you are a freelancer or
Mm.
whatever, every type of
Yeah.
job or business that requires you to be alone, to think alone, to decide,
Mm.
to decide for yourself,
Mm.
your environment becomes lonelier. It's not that much of the time that you can what you call this, you can socialize with people. I mean,
Mm.
your friends, your friends get a little bit, your circle of friends get smaller and smaller, not because uh, you're asking them to stay out of your life, but it's just because your mindset is already different. And hearing
Mm.
those kinds of words from like-minded people is really
Mm.
awesome.
Yes.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate this show and this
I
community.
appreciate you, Mr. Ansampang, and I love it that you mentioned that evidence like that can be substance to add in your book for seeing if you're on the right path. There's multiple signs. Not just me or the universe. I'd like to bring the universe's name there. It provides guidelines. I mean guidelines. I mean guidelines, guides that you're doing. You're on the right track. You're doing the most, as I can see, if the universe could talk. Because I think to find yourself in efforts like that possibly could exhaust you in the beginning. I'm not going to say possibly because I know it's going to exhaust you in the beginning,
I will.
but as you accrue savviness in these works, it becomes your north star. Now you're guided by this divine feeling intervention that
Right.
it makes sense, and maybe that's all that matters in these processes we're going through. It makes sense, and
Right.
sense can be subsidized into meaning, because we found meaning there. Fulfillment, we found it there too. Joy, definitely there. um, that fuels a person to do the same acts in different ways again and again repetitively, and we can systemize that, and we can give that to people too, but it takes a lot of time. And from hearing you how you train your people, I think it takes a lot of time. You skipped and jumped into the good parts, but I understand
Hey,
that it takes some
right.
time. Yeah.
Right. No. That's very accurate. You skip
Mm.
and jump to the good part. We will not have a lot of time if I
Yeah.
tell you all the failures, because I don't want to sugarcoat all these things. We're also doing webinars for entrepreneurs, and one thing that I always tell them at the start of the webinar is, this is not going to be easy. This is going to be tough. One 9 out
Mhm.
of 10, we will fail, especially at the beginning. But what matters is we hit that 1 out of 10 success. So I'm not
Mhm.
going to give you
One
false,
percent. Yeah.
false expectations. No matter
Mm.
how I want to motivate you, but I just want you
Mhm.
to understand the um, how things could be difficult, and not a regular person will quit in a single or two failure. And what
Mhm.
I'm asking you is, you need to fail at the beginning, fail fast as much as
Mm.
possible, fail at the
Mhm.
beginning,
Yeah.
so you will get good at it once you're on the eighth step or ninth step. And on the 10th try, at least you will
Yeah.
hit that target on the 10th try. So yeah, it sounds good if you tell a story of success, but I don't want to give people the impression that it was
Mm.
easy. It was hard,
Mhm.
it was tough,
Never.
it was
Yeah.
sleepless nights,
Mhm.
it was being broke most of the time.
Mm.
And that what makes it fun, Mark. Yeah, You know the feeling that when it's uh, when there's a power outage, brown out, mainit,
Mm,
brown out, and then
true.
it's you're sweaty all over the place, and then
Mm, yeah.
um, when the power comes on, it's like even though you haven't turned on the AC yet, just the thought
Mm,
that the
mm.
power is on, it gives you comfort, you know. But you're
Mm,
still
oh yeah.
sweaty. You're still sweaty.
Anxieties.
But then again, your mind is already expecting something good. And I guess that's something that we don't need to remove
Wow.
that, because that's hope. I'm not sure if you've watched
I
Netflix
love hope.
or the Sandman series.
Not
You
yet.
know that, yeah,
I heard it's a
yeah,
thing. It's a
okay,
big thing. The
yeah,
movie.
yeah. But it might sound cheesy to other people, but it's a simple word, hope.
Mm,
It keeps you going. It doesn't only keep you going. It transform how you see things. You now see things that are not being
possibilities.
seen by other people. And some people might
Mm,
think you're crazy because they're not seeing it. They will say that you're illogical. That's not realistic.
mm. Crazy
But
talk.
you know it. You know it because you've experienced it, and you've already drawn a map from your mind on how
Mm,
to get where you want to get to.
sure.
And
Yeah.
that hope will not only keep you going, but it will give you a wider perspective, a clearer perspective.
It fuels you, and you're not alone in this hope. You have so much experience to bet it on against.
Right.
And you're not going in with blank shots. I mean, you're going for it because you were encouraged by the past good decisions that shrouded themselves in risk of failures. I mean,
Exa-
then
Exactly.
you got encouraged. Yeah. I love saying that too, because the only way to find these gems of encouragement is if you try and risk something at first that doesn't make sense necessarily, but makes sense to try. And
Right.
hope is instilled there, but you got to understand how hope works. You don't get it in the first try,
Right.
but
Right.
immediately though it will provide lab results that tell you what you could possibly work on if you really want this thing still. And then if you do get it after your 10th try, maybe a 100th try, you do get it now. You do
Yeah.
get it now. You
Right.
do
Right.
get it now. But the question is, now that you have it, do you really want it? Then it changes again. So you look for the next uh, egg or gem or egg that interests you the
Yeah.
most now. But you now carry the understanding of like how to get there, how to get it, like how to get things done now. You gotta try, understand the little things and make sense
Yeah.
of them, connect it to the
Right.
hope that brought you there firstly in the first steps, yeah. First few steps.
And just to loosen things up, I might add, it's not always that serious. Sometimes it's just being stubborn. I mean, sometimes you just do it for the sake of doing it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to say that I'm really good at digging into my inner being to find my purpose and to find why am I doing it still. But sometimes it just all boils up to being stubborn. For this day, you're just stubborn to do these things, and you just
Some
keep
sense,
on
yeah.
doing them. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But,
love
but
that.
again, that kind of stubbornness, to be serious, that kind of stubbornness was developed because it's going to work, because you have a better vision and you have better
Mm,
skills to do it.
that's clarifying
Yeah,
the air with that
yeah, right,
stubbornness. Yeah, for sure,
right,
Mr.
right,
Ansapang. You gotta be stubborn if you think it's the right thing, and the right thing is categorized by how much effort and risk you put throughout the years or time that you started to do things, and judge your aim there. So
right.
yeah, before we conclude and end things, Mr. Ansapang, we have great reactions here from Chris Vincent, the CEO. Miss Janine here is actually asking you, do you do coaching slash mentoring? Alan?
Yes, we do in Think Street Smart. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because
Mm,
we offer free consultation, business consultation every Friday. So all you need to do is to log on to our group, be a member of our group. It's not
mm.
that hard.
I'll be there.
We're a growing community of entrepreneurs, and if you want to know or learn something, we can help you out. We're more than happy to help you out. Yeah, we
Awesome.
do. We do coaching and mentoring.
Great news. I mean, let's connect from there and talk about what made an impression on us here tonight for people who's watching. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you, Miss Janelle.
and thank you, Chris Vincent. Thank you for this platform. Yeah, thank you, CEO Chris Vincent, founder of the Prime Community. And yeah, again, Mr. Alan Sampan, I think that's all for us tonight to give to the people.
Right.
Thank you again so much for your time and insight. That's for sure. Insight has been massively laid down on the right hand here and the left hand. We got so much perspective from you and how to do things, how to help people, how your employees, the people that are part of you, how you cater to them, how you support them, what you feed them. When I say feed, it's like you took the time to understand where they bleed at the most and gave them the most their attention, and they function better afterwards because of it, because you understood that's how you function the best and how you work the best. That's how your A game starts to happen all the time when you're learning and having fun and fulfillment. Looks like you're getting results as if it's so easy to get, but you subsidize those results and thank the parts that you help first in your stuff. You gotta, and I think you gotta be resilient too, because all these things, these interactions with other people, you gotta have some, like spunk or grit, as you mentioned in the
Right.
beginning, in the first part. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
really appreciate
if
that.
I may speak in
Go
the
for it.
vernacular, it's matigas po ang ulo ko. like, like yeah,
Yeah.
resilience and stubbornness can go well if
Mm.
you if you just know how to balance things. Yeah, and
Mm.
thank
Yeah.
you, Matt. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. And yeah, and I want to end with, you did talk about stubbornness, but where do you should put it in the most? Like,
Right.
if you believe in something that came from an experience that pulled you and made an impression that it's a lasting impression. You keep thinking about it, and you think it's a great way to attack life and entertain life. Then put that grit there. Try the most out
Right.
of it.
I love that
Yeah.
word. Grit.
Love that word too, Mr. Hansen. Fine. So, with that being said, thank you so much, everybody, for who's watching. We're gonna do this again next Saturday, and I will see you there with our next guest. So catch us. Stay tuned, and yeah, connect with Mr. Hansen Pan in. Or can you add us again, Mr. Hansen Pan? Where can
Yeah.
we find you?
Yeah, we're a growing community in Facebook. Just look for just search Think Street Smart, and
Mm.
we also started uploading uh, bits of business coaching in TikTok. So if you're active in
Mm.
TikTok, if you're Gen Z or millennial, these are for the younger
Put me
generations.
on TikTok a
So
bit,
we
maybe for that
provided
reason.
some um contents that will help you out in if you're a starting entrepreneur. So we uploaded everything in TikTok, and we continue to upload it. Yeah, there. So the easiest way
Right.
to contact us is through our page, Think Street Smart, and
Mm.
I hope to hear from you.
All right. With that being said, again, Mr. Alan Spine, thank you so much for your time. Deeply, I have been blessed to share this space with you in the social media realm, sit down in this room of digital things and talk about things that matter to you in the span of the years that you were able to share with me, which is massive enough for us here who's watching. And with that being said, catch us in the Campfire Zoom link. The Zoom link is in the comment section. Join us there. We'll have a more in-depth conversation about these things. If you want to, talk about things for those watching, ask questions there. Unlimited questions there. How far you can go, how much you can go with these questions. We will find you there in the Zoom link. So yeah, thank you again so much for some time, and good night, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you. Another great Saturday night successful. Great starting